So listen up. Here we go. This is a poem. If you do not, anyone here not American, just you're not. Let me say it differently. You have not lived in America the last couple of years. Yeah, but when'd you move here? Do you know the money works here? Right, you're like, money doesn't work here. I got you. I want to thank our president. All right. Listen up to the poem. Here we go. Says Rabbi Silverstein, my dad gave me, it's called Smart, this poem. My dad, did you memorize this for school? Oh. My dad gave me a $1 bill because I'm his smartest son. And I traded it for 2 shiny quarters. Because 2 is more than 1. And then I took the quarters and traded them to Lou for 3 dimes. I guess he didn't know that 3 is more than 2. For those who are unfamiliar, that means he made less money just now. Okay, so I'm there for you, my friend. Just then along came old blind Bates. And just because he can't see, he gave me 4 nickels for my 3 dimes. And 4 is more than 3. And I took the nickels to Hiram Coombs down at the seed feed store, and the fool gave me 5 pennies for them. And 5 is more than 4. And I went home and I showed my dad, and he got red in the cheeks. And he closed his eyes and shook his head, too proud of me to speak. Okay, if you could please describe, using an adjective, just describe, come on down right over here. If you could just describe an adjective to describe this kid. Dumb, foolish, doesn't understand the currency, immature, clueless, more is better than less. Okay, there's one question that you guys should ask me. What? When? That's not a question. Come on, there's one question you should ask. How old is he? Isn't it amazing that all of you came to adjectives without asking just to understand the story a little bit? How old is he? So if I tell you that the kid is 2 years old, what would you say now? What do you say? Would you call them dumb? No, it's just uninformed. Immature. Immature is correct. But the way you said it now is different than you said it before. Because immature as just a word is correct. Immature is not correct. All right, so we come to say, what have I told you is 25? Now we have some other words to say, right? However, if the kid is 2 years old, then he made a very intelligent choice. Because what do we teach children, young children? We teach them something known as quantity. We don't teach them quality. Now, eventually we get the quality, but they don't really understand that. So we teach them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish, right? That's what we teach them. And we teach them is 2 is more than 1, 3 is more than 2, 4 is more than 3, 5 is more than 1, etc. But we don't go and teach them the concept of the value of something. That maybe, as maybe you saw the title of the class, 1 can be more than 5. 1 can be more than 5. Now, as we get older, we hopefully get more clarity. As we get older, we get more and more mature, and we're able to then make proper decisions based off the information that we have. But when the kid makes this decision, it's a very intelligent choice, and it's amazing to see the way that kids make decisions. I have a son who I asked a couple years ago. I said to him, we were sitting outside on a swing together. It was a very fatherly, sonly moment. Truth is, I was sitting there. I said, son, come on, sit down next to your pops. And he said, what? I said, sit down. He's 5 years old at the time. And I said to him, tell me, what would you rather have? Food or money? So he said, okay, it's like a really silly question. And I love that he said that, because then I wasn't sure which way was I being silly. So which one? Would you rather food or money? So he said to me, kind of silly question, of course, food. Because without food, You die. What are you going to do with money? Says the intelligent 5-year-old. So we're going to talk about getting to other people's places another time, but he's 5. So I said, okay, what would you rather have? Water or food? Or money. You guys you love money, huh? Right? Water or money? So what does he say? Money. No, I'm kidding. You're right. Water. Because without water, you die. What am I going to do with money? Buy it. Thank you. But he doesn't know that, right? Then we go a little further. I say, what would you rather have? Money or paper? So he says, I understand why you're wasting my life here. Of course, paper. Because with paper, you can color. What are you going to do with money? Now you got to understand, I have a 4-year-old now. This is when my son, he's older than 5, but when he was 5, I have a 4-year-old who came to me the other day, maybe 3 weeks ago. He comes over, he's like, Daddy. I'm like, what? He goes, you have to give me a lot of money. I said, oh, why do I have to give you a lot of money? He said, because he's still mayor, his older brother. He has a lot of money. So you have to give me a lot of money. I'm like, so how much money do you have? He's like, I have 14 shekel. He was so happy. He's like, 14 shekel. And he's like, Dad, you have to give me a lot of money. I said, oh, okay. Well, I hear you. What are you going to do with the money? And he's like, you could see in his brain, something happening, but there was nothing there because there was nothing to grab onto because he doesn't know what money does. So he's just like, error, error, error. You could see it happening, And he's like, I'm like, what are you going to do with the money? He goes, I don't know, but I need a lot of it. I said, oh, you sound like your mother. Okay, can we edit that, please? I was saying, how do we? Thank you so much. Right, but what is that? They don't even know what it is. And you look at the decision-making process and you think oh, what a silly choice that someone would make. What a silly decision somebody's making. I believe that most people don't make silly choices. I think that most people, well, it's another class. I don't think people really make choices altogether. But let's talk about the ones that do make choices. I believe that people try to more or less make somewhat intelligent decisions, intelligent choices. It's just perhaps we're missing something over here. There's something that's missing. For those who are learning accounting, you probably have heard of something known as a CBA. What is that? Could be it's not accounting. I made it up. But you're like, I'm an accountant. I've never heard of it in my life. Right? What are you talking about? Well, I don't want to hire you. That's for sure. Right? This is called a cost-benefit analysis. Well, look at that. The paramedic got it, right? Cost-benefit analysis. Do I make him live? Let him die? I'm not sure. What's going to be? Is he good for society? Cost-benefit analysis. Every day, we are always constantly making decisions, and we're making cost-benefit analysis. The fact that you're in this room right now, you made a cost-benefit analysis. And that is, what's it going to cost me? What am I going to benefit? Coming here is going to cost me time. It's going to cost you time. You're spending time over here, and it's going to cost you. You're losing out. You're losing something. So you say, it's not called a loss. Okay, fine. But the point is that there is an actual loss of something. You're not getting something else. There's other classes going on here right now. You're not at those classes. So you're thinking, so many times anyway videoing it. So it's like, shout out. You know what I'm saying? Come on, fellas. Am I right? But the point is it's called a cost benefit. You're losing out the fact that you came here right now. There's a loss, but there's also a tremendous benefit. Tremendous benefit. Question is, which one is worth it? And I usually get the answer when somebody walks out. But if you didn't walk out yet, that means that you felt that the cost is worth the benefit. When you wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, you make a decision to get out of bed or not to get out of bed. There's a cost-benefit analysis. Now, it's not a thought that you wake up, you're like, well, let's see the pros. Okay, it's cons. Okay, 1/3/2. All right, I guess I'll do it. All right. The answer is maybe it's not like that. And if it is like that, that's interesting. And, teach their own. But usually it's a very quick, just like, you just work it out very quickly, and you wake up and you have to go to school. So getting out of bed is going to cost you. What's it going to cost you? Sleep. It's going to cost you sleep, relaxation, energy. What are you going to gain going to school? Correct. Nothing. So therefore, you go back to sleep. Or what's it going to get me? It's going to get me knowledge. Okay, so then it's worth it for me. What's it going to get me? Well, it's going to cost me if I stay here. I'm going to get yelled at by my parents or by my spouse or by both if they all live together. And therefore, what's got to be is worth it for me to go rather than to stay, right? You understand? So it's always a cost-benefit analysis. I don't believe that anyone is not making a cost-benefit analysis. The problem that comes in, the mistake, the area where there's a problem is when we don't understand what the real cost is and we don't really appreciate what the value is, right? We don't know what's the benefit. What's the cost? What's the benefit? So, for example, it's very common to find... let's do it this way. If you do not, this is curious how this is going to work in this room. If you do not have an iPhone, raise your hand. Whoa meant that's a lot or it's a little? It's a lot? It's a lot? Is that, where are we, half the room or? No, yeah, sure. Versus Android, that's fine. Yeah. What did you? Oh, you thought I meant like smartphone? You identified a smartphone with an iPhone is the thing? All right. Okay, who here does have an iPhone? Just, everyone's like, hands are like this, by the way, for that one. Who is like, do you have it? If you do not have one, right here. If you have one, okay, fine, okay. Fine, I have two. It is what it is, okay? It is what it is. Those who have an iPhone, and assuming you bought it, you paid for the iPhone. Now, it could be other phones also. I'm just saying the iPhone, if you paid for it, okay, if you're Jewish, let's be real, you didn't pay for it. But if you're that sucker who didn't, get the rebate pass and thing, we're going with the AT&T and thinking, I want the Visa card, right? So if with the dance deals, and then macht the hamish, and they got my little phone. But if you actually paid for the phone, let's say the phone cost you, I don't know, you got on sale, so it's only $1,400, okay? So you buy yourself an iPhone. I'm not going to do this right now, but if you stop and you think it through for a second, the cost is, let's say, $1,400. The benefit is what? Now you play it out. And when I do this with people, most people that I have the conversations with, what they describe as the benefit is the same thing you could have with something which is not an iPhone. Now, there's always one that, no, because I want to sync it. No. Fine. So you relax and you're fine. All right. But everyone else, hey, what happened? Hello? You hear me? Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Scary. So now, when you go and you buy yourself this phone, you're paying a lot of money. $1,400 is a lot of money. I mean, I guess it's relative. And some of you are thinking, oh, that's not so much money. So I'd like to speak to you after. But you're paying, $1,400. What are you getting for it? The person says, well, I want to be able to make a phone call. Okay, then you could have paid a lot less if that's what you wanted. I want to be able to send messages. I want to be able to have email. I want to be able to have calendar. I want to be able to have FaceTime. Okay, now you're stuck because that's an Apple product. But if it's going to say, well, you could use a WhatsApp thingamajigger or who knows what, right? That's a new product. You could use many different things in order to get across the same thing. Why would you spend $1,400 when you could spend $200? And the answer is advertising, right? They got you good, right? That's like most of us fall into that trap where you made a mistake. You think you're getting a benefit when the reality is you paid a lot more than you're benefiting because you can get exactly the same things for a fraction of the price. Everybody understand that? Yes or no? Right? Okay, now whoever wants to argue, I got it. You work for Apple. Fine. But everyone else, so you stop and think through the idea, how you doing over there? Right? So, tell me when you're ready, because I know, I'm saying for the shot. I'm ready for the. So how do you want, like, I don't, which have we not done over the years? Like, what did we get this shot? We didn't get this one. Can you get both feet? This really hurts. I can't do that so long. Anyway, the point is as follows. It's not that we don't make a cost-benefit analysis, it's that we're not really thinking through what's the cost, what's the benefit, right? What am I going to gain? What am I going to lose? And this is the Mishnah Pirkei Avos. Mishnah comes along and says, "Have a mechashiv hefseid mitzvah keneged schara, uschara vir keneged hefseida." When a person goes at it, I think it's in Beis Aleph, right? In the beginning of the second chapter. When a person goes at Rebbe, it's Rebbe speaking, Rebbe Omer, it doesn't start with who, right? So Rebbe comes on and he tells us, having mechashiv, evaluate, calculate. Hefsid mitzvah, what am I going to lose? What loss am I going to incur by doing a mitzvah? Now, if you just came back from a yeshiva or seminary, particular seminary, you'd be like, a loss, a mitzvah? No, but I mean to say, there is a loss. There can be a loss. It's not working again. So now we go over and we say the following. Do you hear this? Oh, now you hear me. All right. No, you don't have to hear me. You hear me. We're talking. Right. All right. So, when a person goes and they do a mitzvah, when someone goes to do a mitzvah, it depends what the mitzvah is. What's the mitzvah? So let's say in particular, a person is going to go out and buy a pair of tefillin. A pair of tefillin costs about $100 on the black market. But if a person wants a kosher pair of tefillin, then they can cost more than that. Right? We're talking about minimum $500. It could be $1,000. It could be $2,000. You can get it for $10,000 if you have gold letters, but then it's puzzle. Right? So don't do that. But the point is that a person can spend a lot of money. We're talking about on average somewhere between $1,500, $2,000 for a pair of tefillin. So now, what am I losing by doing the mitzvah? When I go ahead and I do the mitzvah of tefillin, not to actually do it, but when I buy the tefillin, I'm losing $2,000. Don't get all emotional. It's not called a lot. We'll get there. The point is that I'm losing. I do not have that money anymore. What am I gaining? I'm gaining nitzchias. I'm gaining olam haba. I'm gaining the greatest pleasure you can imagine. As we know, we're going to get so much when a person goes ahead and does. So now let's weigh it out. It's going to cost me X amount. I'm going to gain. Which one? Is it worth it or not? You get it? That's called in one direction. With the other direction, every mechashev hefseid mitzvah keneged schar uschar avera keneged hefseida. And that is, what schar am I going to get by doing an avera versus what am I going to lose? Schar for doing an avera? No, what that means is, what kind of benefit will I incur by doing this mitzvah versus what am I going to lose? The benefit is, it's going to taste good, smell good, feel good, yeah. And then we talk about what's going to be the loss. A lot. Infierno con diablo. Right? It's going to be a painful experience, or we're going to lose out something afterwards. So therefore it comes out to, we constantly need to be evaluating and figuring out when we're making decisions in life, what we're doing. Now here's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is that if a person doesn't have a value system, if you don't work out your value system, then the world's going to choose the value system for you. We have to have a system and make a decision of what's called worth it and what's called not worth it. And if we're not able to go out and make that decision of what's going on over here, then we're not going to be able to do something. It's going to be taken from somewhere else. So we understand from a Jewish perspective, from a Torah perspective, we got to figure out what's the value, what's the cost. Now, what's amazing is that it all comes down to, like you said before, which is a big word, is maturity. A certain level of maturity, a certain level of time. It takes time for a person to get to a point when they can understand that it's worth it for me to do certain things. The younger we are, the less we understand, simply because we haven't experienced enough. And when you tell them that 1 is more than 5, it just doesn't register. Because we see 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. But a $100 bill is more than 5 $1 bills, and so on and so forth. Right? So we go to say that $1 is worth more than 5 pennies. Right? So what comes out is that, yes, there is, but they don't get it. But that's fine. Because when we're little, the ramifications are quite little, right? In other words, so the guy lost out on 95 cents. The problem, though, is when you start adding zeros. And then it's 950, then 9,500, and so on and so forth. And then things start to make a big difference. And then as we go through our life, we continue to live in a certain direction, and we start to lose more and more. It's not that we don't do cost-benefit analysis. It's just we don't think for a moment, what's really the cost? What's really the benefit? And if we don't understand something called Olam Haba, Gan Eden, Kirvas Elokim, if we understand these ideas, which we might not understand, but if we understood them, then that would win every time. And we would go ahead and move in that direction. The problem is that we don't always understand it, which is why it's so crucial that a person learn, think, work it out. Be intelligent. When a person's young, happens to work out nicely, that we have a kind of a buffer zone in Yiddishkeit. We have a buffer zone. From the time you're born, you're not chayiv in mitzvos. We're not chayiv, right? You don't have the baby coming out and, say, mama, tznius. You know what I'm saying? And going to nurse and say, baruch ato yamaka. And you say, there's no intelligence there. Okay, so then what has happened? 3 years old, right? Because the chiyuvim start at 3 years old, correct? The answer is incorrect. Oh, I love wires. Thank you. Right? So it doesn't go and say, it's not, keep this also, keep this thing here. Yes, keep it, or this means keep it? All right. I wasn't sure. It's like, just stop, right? Okay. Hello. Yeah? Is that better? Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You ducked before. What happened? All right. So now we go and we play this out. Where was I before the mic? The baby. So the baby, we know until 5. When does a child start to become chayiv? At age of mitzvos. 6 is a nice shtickle Torah, but has nothing to do with the kid. Not has something to do with the kid, but to say is that 6, chinuch is not a mitzvah on the kid. Chinuch is a mitzvah on the parents, maybe only on the father. That's a discussion. But the point is that we have something called, oh yes, Michael's here. Yeah. So, let's do like a good, we never do good ones. Just walk in and say, can we do it like action shots? Right, okay. So now, chinuch is the idea that the child is not chayiv until they're 12 years old for a girl or 13 for a boy. Suckers, we get another year. But the point is, okay, because we're immature, right? But the point is that we get another year. The 12-year-old, 13-year-old, why? We give the kids a full decade to be able to process and learn this information. And then we start to go and make certain decisions. It's amazing. So a kid doesn't understand. They think just short-term. It's very short-term thought. It's very hard for a kid to understand long-term. They don't get it. They don't understand. That's why when you go and you promise your kid something, if you say, if you do this, I'm going to give you some sort of treat, I'm going to give you a reward, you have to give it to them immediately. You have to give it to them immediately. Why? Because if you don't give it to them, then you just lied to them. But they said, no, we're going to give it to you. When? Tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow in the language of a child is never. No such thing. Got to give it immediately. And when you give them a treat a day later, they're like, what's this for? Well, it's what you did yesterday. What's yesterday? You said there's no frame of reference. And the same thing is in terms of a punishment. You can't punish a kid the next day for something they did the day before. They don't process information. It's got to be immediate. Over time, we start to develop that further and further and further. I don't know if anybody knows someone like this, but, goes ahead and you see like a kid who was, these kids that have the experience of either they never grew up religious altogether or they have some sort of experience where they go off the derech in some way. And so now, there's one kid who was about to turn the light on Shabbos, they're about to lean on it. You're like, careful, the light, careful. And they go, oh, what? This? Yeah, this. Oh, no, what's going to happen? I'm going to go to Gehenna. The answer is, well, yeah. I say, yeah. But what are they feeling? They're feeling nothing happened to me. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Now, how did that happen? It's usually a process. One of my kids accidentally bumped into a light on Shabbos. She froze. And I was like, what happened? She's like, Shabbos. I was like, okay. Like, well, you did it on purpose? She's like, no, it was an accident. I said, okay, what are you getting so nervous about? Like, what are you getting so nervous? She's like, well, so I said, okay, first of all, you have to know, just relax, because sometimes there's like a lot of fear. Like this is just a fear. You have to know it's okay. Like you did it by accident. You're not going to get hit him. We do have to cut off your arm after Shabbos, but it's only one arm. It's not both. You get to choose. I'm like, really? I'm like, my wife's like, stop it. I'm like, you're right. Both arms. How dare you? There's this fear and what happens, but what happens then? A person feels like, oh, nothing happened to me. Right? Nothing happened to me. I'm not sure if I should tell the following story. I have such a story. I should say it? Well, peer pressure. All right, here we go. This, I can't say it. This is I can't say it. Isn't that a letdown? Such a good story. I could tell it off camera. I can't tell it on camera because I can't. I could. I'm saying it won't end well for somebody. Maybe. Anyway, so the point is that you go to a kid who's like, the kids make decisions, and the decisions are made very quick. It was like, right now, what's happening? And the kid doesn't understand, don't do that, it's bad for you. So, classic examples, the kid says they want a brownie. That works for teenagers, for certain types, and for a younger age. I'm talking about a younger age, right? So the kid's 3 years old, you give them the brownie, they eat the brownie. Then they say, I want another, more, give me more, I want another brownie. So, okay. You made a nice bracha. Here's another brownie. Here's more sugar. All right, so they go ahead, and then they eat a second one. I want another brownie. No, it's not good. It's not good for you. And they say, I want more. And you're going to get a stomachache. No, I won't. What's a stomachache? I don't know, but I need a lot of money. Right? See, they don't even know what they're saying no to. But they say, I want more. And they say, okay, fine. You give it. No, I want another one. You're going to get a stomachache. And they say, what does that mean? Your tummy, this area, the region, Tati's a big one, Mommy's a littler one, like this thing over here. You're going to go ahead, it's going to hurt you. No, it won't. Okay. So then then what happens? They get a stomachache. And you say, oh no, my stomach hurts. And what happened? And there's like no correlation between these two things. But then you start to make them for them. And you say, by the way, it's because you ate those, it's because you didn't say a bracha with kavana. That's good manipulation. But what you go is you say, it's because of the fact that you ate too many brownies. And then you explain to them, if you eat too many of them, you're going to end up throwing up, right? And there's repercussions. When do those repercussions happen? The answer is, it depends how many brownies you eat and how fast you eat them. But let's keep playing it out. You're not going to feel well. You're going to probably throw up. You're going to have to use the bathroom. You're going to get fat. You're going to, God forbid, a person can then develop diabetes and a person can die. But that's so far away, right? It's so far removed, and it needs to be immediate to understand something. So a person goes through the experience, nothing happens to them, and they say, oh, I thought all along that by doing this, there's going to be a repercussion. And it turns out there was no repercussion, and therefore there's no problem anymore. Without thinking for a moment, just because you didn't get the ticket yet doesn't mean it's not coming in the mail. See, that a lot of people related to there. Right? Do you like to, did it flash? I don't know if it flashed. I feel like there was a flash. Was there a flash? I'm not sure. 2 weeks later, there was a flash. Twice. One you didn't even know about. Right? So what happened? Oh, the ambulance guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Right? So it goes ahead and we say, it comes later. It comes eventually. But you don't get that when you're little. We can't process that. As we get older, we're meant to understand the fact that there's long term. You have kids that go ahead and they smoke. Okay, maybe that's not cool anymore. They vape. Right? So they go and they say no, I'm not going to put cigarette in my body. It's terrible. I'll just put random chemicals and I'm not sure what they are. Like hot dogs, So they go and they say, I'm just going to. They say I'll be fine. Really? So they go, what? And then they smoke a, see? Nothing happened. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a great experiment right there. Well, nothing happened. So then when they think, why is it that they'll have a second one? Because nothing happened after the first one. And in their mind, it's very short term. They don't understand value. They only understand quantity. It has to be something that's right away clear and evident. If it's not clear and evident, so then they don't understand it. And then they start processing information like that, and then they get older and they continue to process the information like that, having the wrong costs and the wrong benefit, and making a cost-benefit analysis in an intelligent way based on bad information. And then we live our life like that. So what happens if a person goes out and they smoke again, these kids sometimes say, you go and say listen, you should stop smoking. So what will happen? I'll die? Fine, I'll die. I'll just die. I'm like, okay. First of all, just chill. Second of all, I just want to explain something to you. There are some things that are mar mimaves. I have an aunt that passed away of lung cancer. She smoked for many years. I knew she quit smoking and she died 5 years later. But she smoked for many years. And when she got lung cancer, this wasn't something which is a little bit. She was, I don't remember exactly how many months, 4 or 5 months, where she was in excruciating pain, unbearable pain, because tumors were up and down her spine. She wasn't able to get the highest levels of morphine they can give was doing almost nothing. It was just directly on the actual nerves themselves. You couldn't even function. So you say, I'll die. Even your cost-benefit analysis of death is off. At that point, people daven that they should die. It's so much pain. Are you thinking through what you're doing? Are we paying attention? And we got the flip is the pleasure, the benefit. What am I going to gain by doing it? Well, I did a mitzvah. I didn't feel something right now. Like, what's going on? I didn't get it right now. I don't feel like something right now. So, like, what's the point? Cost-benefit analysis is not the issue. The issue is making sure we have clarity on what's the cost and what's the benefit. Now, let's understand something. When you're talking with somebody who's coming from a background where they're not perhaps coming from an observant background, a religious background, and you try to explain to them something, what do you think? They're stupid? They're not stupid. They're just uninformed of certain value systems. And if they understood the value system, then perhaps they would have a different way of looking at it. It's just they just don't get it. Similar to every one of us in certain areas. We just don't get it. Proof in the pudding and in the cake, and the chocolate pudding, and the cake. Just watch tonight as we eat more and more and more. And we, I stress, we. But don't look at me. Just watch what we do over there to understand that what we see is that ultimately it's about getting clarity on what are our values. Understanding the value system, getting clarity on it, ultimately being able to then go and make proper decisions in life of what we should be doing. Not just getting used to and accepting certain things, but rearranging and then going longer term. Short term, long term. Short term, long term. The older we get, we understand that there's longer term. Things go more. I can wait a little bit. It's worth it for me. There's value in holding on that because I have a system. But if a person doesn't have that system, then we're lost. And what will happen? They'll make a choice. But that choice is going to be based off the value system that they have at whatever given time, wherever they are. So what does that mean? That means we have to be learning things. We have to be learning. To be able to give over stuff, we have to be able to say it in an articulate fashion, knowing what we're talking about, how we can say, what's the value, what are we doing over here? And the more that we learn about it, the more clarity we get. The more clarity we get, then our decisions start to change a little bit. And then we get to the hard part, and that's acting upon those new decisions. When we're little, we're a lot more open, malleable, pliable. We're able to work with it in a way like Play-Doh. You get older, it's like a rock. It's just like very hard impossible to fashion. Got to chisel away in order to do such a thing. So clearly it makes sense to try to get this earlier than later. You know the expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So the good news is that we're not dogs, which means we can learn new tricks. The bad news is it is challenging, it is difficult. We have to be taking the steps to be getting there. Make sure we're investing time and energy and clarity and understanding. You know, there was a question, a famous, a well-known story. Somebody who came, I believe it was to Rousseau Salanter, and asked Rousseau Salanter, he said, I only have a half hour a day. What do I learn? Do I learn Musser or do I learn Gemara? So Rousseau said to him, you should learn Musser. And then you'll realize that you have more time. And then you can learn Gemara also. How many of us are qualifying and quantifying and understanding what our value system is? And this is every level. And so this is not a discussion of a person who's about tshuva, or a person who, as they call a FFB, or, FFH, from habit, or the OTD, off the derech, WTI, with time out, whatever it may be. This is a discussion to every person, the most ultra-Orthodox to the least ultra-Orthodox, I don't know how you say it, from all across the spectrum. And that is, are we growing? Are we qualifying? Are we getting clarity on where we are? Are we learning? Are we continuously getting more and more sharper and sharper understanding what's the cost, what's the benefit? The more we understand what it is, the better choices we're going to make. Suggestion? Maybe learn a little bit of Musser. And by a little, I mean a lot. But really, I mean a little lot. Depends what you mean, what your value system of a little is. But even 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. The Mishnah Brewer brings it down, La halacha, a person should be learning Musser every single day. Every day we're supposed to go out and learn Musser. Are we sitting down? Are we taking the time to really learn something? Well, what should I be learning? There's so, Baruch Hashem, there's so many options. I'm a big fan. I have a little shout out to Mesil Sesharim. I had to write that down. A little shout out to Mesil Sesharim, to the Ramchal. I didn't really have to write that down. It's not written there. But a little shout out about learning, clarity, understand. If Goldberg spoke about the concept of Soda Chasidus, Shorosh Avodah, Shizbar, Yishamis, Eskola, Machavosa, Olamo. Right now, what's the chov in your world, and what steps I need to take in order to get there? Make sure that we're actually taking the steps. So putting this into perspective, because we're at a Project Inspire Shabbaton, so we throw it in to understand. It's not that when a person goes ahead and they make a bad decision that it means necessarily that they're, whatever adjective we use in the negative, that they're stupid, that they're dumb, but simply it's uninformed. And if I would have known, then perhaps I would have made a different decision. I just didn't know. I didn't realize that this is something that's so valuable. And the most incredible thing about this, and I probably shouldn't call out Project Inspire on tape, but is that yes, the goal is to go ahead and to inspire you, to inspire others. But I found a lot that really, we know the ones that gain the most are hopefully us, or at least. We're gaining a lot. We're getting a tremendous amount. To be able to gain ourselves, our own clarity, our own excitement, our own passion, our own drive, our own desire. And when we look at other people and we have to go out there to maybe describe the value system, then it starts to have an impact on us. Oh, wait a minute. I'm talking about this like it's so beautiful. Do I feel that way? Am I getting up in the morning and running to go do something? Am I willing to go do the mitzvah for something? It's an incredible concept, and I'm not saying I'm not guilty of this. I am. But it's an incredible concept that when it comes to the ability a person can do certain things. Tzedakah. Someone goes ahead and asks to give the tzedakah, they come for a donation. You just got off the phone talking with someone, how you didn't meet, whatever. There was no first class tickets, so you had to fly private. It's not that you wanted to fly private. Now some of you don't know what I mean. You think I mean like alone somewhere in a room closed. But others know exactly what I'm talking about. It's always amazing to see the different levels of what we're connected to. If I say something, there's going to be something that pops into your mind. Like somebody said the word PJ. PJ, depending on your socioeconomic standing, means different things. What does it mean? Okay, I got to see a lot. I got to see all of you. Okay? So some say it means pajamas. It's just I'm wearing my pajamas. Others say it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And others say I'm wearing my pajamas and eating my peanut butter and jelly sandwich on my private jet. What does the word PJ mean? So what goes on? People will fly their entire families in some private jet to some island that didn't exist. They made the island. They made the island. In Dubai, they made that little thing. They made another one beyond it. It personally is like a big sign, Mugan David or something like that. And they go ahead, and then someone comes knocking on the door, tzedakah, you're like, 100%, high dollar. You know what I'm saying? Like, you should know, I'll do this for everyone. 2 times high. And I'll say I'm going to give you $36. Just spend $145 million on a jet, but you give $18. Now the response said is, well, what do you want from me? Everybody's coming. Everybody's coming. Okay, no problem. Let's just do the math. Even if everybody came, it still wouldn't cost the amount for that private island. Now, it's just an example, and I'm guilty of it also. We'd be willing to throw out and going ahead and, throw down like $100 here, $200 there, $500 there, to eat something that I was looking to get some meat in there to sell. And whatever, everyone has their own tastes. I grew up in America, so I don't know what they do differently there. But the meat tastes different. I don't know what it is. I just don't know. I think here they go moo, there they go I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it works. But I'm looking to buy a certain meat, and I'm asking the guy how much it costs to get this particular thing. The other, he's like, yeah, what does it matter? It goes to the same sewage anyway. I'm not going into details, but the point is, you spend so much time and money on something that is for 1 second, and you have something you have nitzchias. So evaluate cost benefit. Don't worry, I'm not doing a fundraiser now. I'm just pointing out an example. Amazing how when a person will go ahead, Sukkot time. So my favorite things to watch. Comes Sukkot time, and we know mitzvah is patim in a sukkah. Okay, for those who are not familiar, that means someone who is pained is exempt from going out into the sukkah. So what does that mean? So a person says, well, I don't want to go there, but I'm in pain. I'm not going. Well, what does it mean? There is a level of someone who's considered a fool who goes into the sukkah. If it's 150 degrees Celsius, which you'll die, by the way, but it's 150 degrees Celsius. There are flies all over the place, and they say, I love the mitzvah sukkah. You know, it's 30 degrees below zero. It's 40 degrees below zero. Ask me Fahrenheit or Celsius. The same. Kelvin, same. Good. It's the same. See, everyone else is just confused. Who? Who's Celsius? The answer is Kelvin's cousin. Right? But we go and you think, minus 40 degrees. You go out in the sukkah. Okay, it's a bit foolish. But let's think that through for a second. I just forgive me. I just don't know everyone's backgrounds or whatever. I just know, like, you see people that are into sports. That they'll go to a football game. They'll sit outside through rain while it's snowing. It's 100 degrees outside. There's lightning. It's a flood. There's a hurricane, a tornado, and an earthquake right on your seat. And they stay out there wearing their coats with no coats on. And it's no problem. You go outside. I don't know. I really don't know Fahrenheit. What's 65? Is that hot? Is that cold? It's comfortable. It's okay. So they go. When does it get cold? 60? I sound like an idiot, but I literally I've been in Eretz Yisrael since I'm 17, and before 17 I didn't know how to count Fahrenheits. I know 100 degrees cold, and less than that's. I mean, it's hot, and less than that's whatever. So what is it? 30? 50? 50? That's my chloikis. Okay. So let's say it drops 1 degree below. It's like it was 60, it's 59. I think it's on putter. Cost-benefit analysis. What's a person going to gain by sitting in a sukkah? What's the person going to lose? What are we going to gain? What are we going to lose? What are we going to gain? What are we going to lose? When it's something which is important to us, all of a sudden the value system starts to shift a little bit. Do we get to shul on time? Do we daven? Lashon hara? Whatever it may be. It's all cost-benefit. We're always evaluating. So ultimately, it comes down to us working that through. And now the question is, how we then apply that to our fellow brothers and sisters that are all over the world, that they themselves don't have this value system. Number one, we have to get clarity on ourselves. Make sure we understand what's considered value. What's value? I want to tell you something. I told the story to somebody, to some people early in the morning. The second rap. We rapped till 2:30ish, and there was another rap till 3 or something, and then we rapped again till 5. We rapped. Who was rapping? It was rapping. And I'll tell you the following story. This is crazy. Okay, listen. This is not, just everybody relax. Calm down. What I'm about to say, it's going to get crazy. I was invited to speak somewhere right during, like as Corona was sort of ending-ish. And I wasn't sure what to talk about. So I asked people in this place, like, what should I talk about? They said, just don't talk about anything like controversial. So I said, okay. So I got up. I said, listen, I was asked not to speak about anything controversial. So I'm going to be speaking about vaccinations and lace shadels. Is that okay? Is that okay with everyone? And I want to tell you a story. I'm not paskening. This is not a pasak, because it wouldn't mean that much anyway. I mean, alti pasak hadiyat kalabenecha. But I'll tell you the following. Is it mutter? Is it also, some people are like, "Face, what is this? I don't know what to lace. What are you talking about? You zip it up, you zip it down. It's a shoelace? What is it? Do I tie it? I don't know what you talk about." I gave a shiur somewhere, and it was a shiur to women, and after the shiur, my wife came to the shiur, and afterwards, she was talking with some of the women, and I was doing the man stand. You know the man stand? It's like when you just do this, you're like... It's all the chairs outside, like Children's Place, and like whatever. If you ever go shopping with your wife and you sit down on the side doing nothing. So I think it's payback for like being in the women's section. I think that's what it is. It's like get in the men's section. All right, sit down. And I'm sitting there. My wife's talking to these two women, and what looked like these two younger women. Turns out these two younger women are the daughters of one of the women. and something came up about lace shaitels, because that's what people talk about apparently at the time that they were talking about it. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and I'm always, my head is always like thinking about, like, people are always asking me, do you have a shidduch for this person, shidduch for that person? Do you have a shidduch for these two people? What about for that 1.5 person? Do you have a shidduch for this? And whatever. It's not like, I don't know. I'm not, I was just like looking, and always there, like, okay, it doesn't hurt, like maybe whatever. And I'm looking at these two young girls, and someone came at Leis Shaitels. And the girl said the following. Yeah, well, our Leis Shaitels. And I was like, huh? I was like, what? First of all, I don't know if guys can relate to this. Obviously, we don't look ever. I'm saying, but I don't even notice it. I don't know the difference between one and the other, but I certainly had no idea. I thought these were two single girls whose hair, or married girls whose hair is not covered. Turns out, both of them are married in the Leis Shaitels, and I couldn't stop it. They go, yeah, well, our Leis Shaitels. I go, what? And they're like, what? I'm like, you guys are married? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, there goes those two shidduchim. That's why there's a shidduch crisis. These girls keep getting married. I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like, you're wearing a shaitel? And one of the girls goes, it doesn't look like what? And even my wife, who, I don't know, women have like these superpowers. Like, they can close their eyes and go, shaitel. So even my wife, her eyes are open, so she made a mistake. And she goes, that's a shaitel? I thought also it was your hair. At the same time, the mother and the daughter reacted. The mother went like this, yes. And the daughter went like this, who just came back from seminary after a said, oi. The mother was so excited. My daughter is wearing a shaitel that nobody can tell that she's married. And the daughter was like, oy vey, you mean you really can't tell? I thought like, okay, it looks better, but I didn't think that you can't even tell. What's the value system? Is a value system? Yes, we were able to get around the mitzvah. And I'm not saying it's what they're us are good, bad, right, wrong. I'm just pointing out a value system. What's the value system? You understand? This is the question that we have over here. So my friends, to put this all together and then just to wrap it up, do a quick recap, end off with one point. And then make our way. Hopefully there'll be more food for us to eat. It's just like, it's the best joke you could say every time. Yeah, because it's not a joke. People cry. Anyway, so we started off in the beginning. My dad gave me a $1 bill because I'm a smart son. What does he do over here? Take the dollar, show you 2 quarters, 2 quarters, 3 down, 4 nickel, 5 pennies. He said, wow, my dad's so proud of me. He said, why? Because you walked away with 5 instead of 1? You fool, you just gave up $1 for 5 pennies. Then we got a little further, come to the Bishop, chapter 2, Mission 1, it says, it costs better finance, person, what am I going to lose by doing the mitzvah versus what am I going to gain? What am I going to gain by doing the ver versus what am I going to lose? And then what happens over there, obviously, it's going to win out. Nitzke is obviously always going to win out over there. Question is, do I have that value? If you don't have the value system, the world's going to choose it for you. Sometimes 5 is less than 1. 1 can be more than 5. Of course, paper, because then you can color. Right? Start to realize over there, was a little bit off in it. Silly, how old was he? 2 years old, 25 years old. When you're making this bad decision, don't know what's going on. So you can do a mitzvah. You're going to go run, do something. You're going to pay for the money for doing something. You're going to put a little bit more. You're going to do involve the stucco or buying a private island or yacht, like Jada. Or they would turn over there. Light, why? Nothing happened to me. Cost benefit, but understand that there's a certain length over there. It's length of time. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it takes time. So at the end of the day, the person goes and says something. Why make the decision? Because that's because they're stupid. But rather because the fact they're lacking information. The person will get that information. Then it would change the entire way in which they would go ahead and work with values and relationships. If you don't choose it, the world's choosing it for you. If you don't choose it, the world's choosing it for you. We have to make sure that we constantly are working on these concepts and we're developing them. We're learning Musser. We're developing ourselves and getting more and more clarity about what is considered valuable. What is the cost? What is the benefit? What am I going to gain? What am I going to lose? And sometimes it takes time. And as we get older, we realize it can take time. So a person goes and they try something, they smoke, and nothing happens to them. Give it time until, God forbid, something does happen. And someone does a proper decision, they go and they work out a little bit, and then over time, what happens? They start to actually get more healthy, get more fit. Why? Because it takes time. You have to understand the view of the method. This is maturity, like we said. Is it earlier or is it later? And then we got the ultimate in terms of our brothers and our sisters. It's not that they're stupid. It's not that they're foolish. It's not that they're dumb. But it's just like us. What do we really understand? We have certain things that we just do, other things that we actually evaluate and work it through. And the same thing with them. They are doing the same exact thing. They're making intelligent decisions, just lacking certain information. And if they would go and have that information, then of course they would choose the right decision. It's just they're lacking that. And we understood that when we realized, hey, we can actually make a major difference in their life just by teaching them certain basic principles that they say, oh, really, that exists? Then all of a sudden that would change the entirety of the conversation. So like I said before, this is not only for other people, this is also for us. We have to make sure that we are getting clarity on the decisions that we're making. What's the value? What's the cost? Is it worth it? Or are you gaining more? Or are you gaining less? Does it make sense that is Torah and mitzvos on the part which is the gain? Or is the Torah and mitzvos the part that we call the loss? Now I can't do something because of that. Now I'm losing out because of that. Or the flip of that is I'm going to gain so much if I invest myself, my time, my effort in that. Make sure that we get clarity on the values, and then we'll be able to choose wisely. If some are leaving tonight, I just want to give a big, oh, I should have said it anyway. I didn't say it that here, but the Project Inspire for making this happen. This is, I think, an amazing weekend. I did eat too much, but I enjoyed it. I did. So there was a value over there. Thank you for clapping for that. Thank you for that. And of course, I have to give a shout out to all of you, because as always, if you didn't come, this would be really awkward. Good Tavach. Say again.
Story.
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, this is a good story. Yeah. You shut the camera?